Frida Kahlo. Frida Kahlo was born in 1907 in Mexico City. She is a famous Mexican painter known for her bright colors and self-portraits. She painted about her life and experiences. Frida had pet monkeys, birds, and a giant garden. She often included them in her artwork. She wore beautiful Mexican dresses and often had flowers woven into her long, dark hair. These are some of her dresses that are on display at her home in Mexico City. Frida Kahlo painted many self-portraits. A self-portrait is a painting you create of yourself. It will include your face. Her self-portraits used bright, bold colors. She added symbols from nature and included animals and plants. She would often mix reality with imagination in her paintings. How are these paintings the same? How are they different? One day, Frida was riding on a bus. It had a terrible accident, and she had to stay in the hospital for a month. She then had health problems for the rest of her life. Her father built a painting easel above her bed so she could still paint. This is a painting she made called The Bus. It shows everyone at peace before the accident. Frida Kahlo's self-portraits showed the beauty of where she lived. They also showed how she suffered. What do you notice in this painting? Frida Kahlo also painted still lifes. A still life is a drawing or painting that focuses on still objects. The most common objects are flowers or fruit. Frida Kahlo painted many still lifes over the course of her life. What did she put in this still life? She often included fruit that was cut open and statues of animals. This is the last painting she created. How does it make you feel? These paintings were created by kids who were inspired by Frida Kahlo. What do you notice about these paintings? It's your turn to create. Let's go to the drawing board. For today's lesson, you need a pencil. You need some quick sticks or tempera paint, a glue stick, a few sticks of oil pastel, a pair of scissors, and then for your background, this is going to be the bottom of my still life, and this is going to be the background of my still life, but these could be any color you want. And then you need a sheet of either watercolor paper or a heavier drawing paper. We're going to be using quick sticks on this, so the quick sticks, they dry really quickly, so just a slightly heavier paper is okay, but if you're using tempera paint, then you're going to need to use watercolor paper. Now the first thing I want to do is prepare my background, and so we are going to be sitting on here just like this. And so I want to be able to just take a little bit of color up into my background. So I'm going to go ahead and for mine, just take a blue quick stick. You could use some blue tempera on top of your construction paper. And I just want to add some texture back in here. And I can do it any way I want. I can just be wild and free. I'm not trying to cover the whole thing. I am literally just making it a little more interesting. And I might decide in some areas that I do want it darker, and I might push my color a little bit. But I don't have to. I'm just adding in a little bit of color. And I'm going to do the same thing to my yellow paper. I'm going to just take once again and add in a little bit of a texture. It doesn't show up quite that much on my yellow, but it still does a little bit, which makes for a more interesting background. And I could play with my quick sticks even more if I wanted to, but I want to keep mine really, really simple. Now I'm going to just take and flip this over. And this sheet was 4 inches by 12 inches if you were wanting to know. I'm going to take my glue stick and glue this down. Now it's really important that I really glue down clear to my edges. And a little bit in the middle. And so now I have my background ready for my fruit. So I'm going to take and set this to the side to dry and get out my paper for drawing fruit. Now the nice thing about this is we're going to be cutting our fruit out, so our fruit can be placed anywhere. So the first kind I want to teach you to draw is just a half of a watermelon. So we just make a line, and you'll notice that I have it almost half of my paper, and this is a 8.5 by 11. And then I'm going to take and make a big smile. And if I want to draw some watermelon seeds, I can. Then I can take my red quick stick. I can paint over, and if I go out of the lines a little bit, it's not a big deal. When I cut it out, I can go ahead and make sure I cut on my line. So I'm going to take in a little bit of red, and then I kind of like to add in a little bit of a highlight color too to make it a little more interesting. I'm going to add in some pink into mine. So blending two colors is kind of nice. You could do the same thing like with an orange if you wanted to take a little bit of orange into it. It will make your watermelon look a little more realistic. Then I'm going to take my white oil pastel and go along the bottom. And then I'm going to take my green oil pastel just a little ways farther out. I could put in my rind. And then I could take my black oil pastel and put in my seeds. So there's my watermelon. I'm going to let that just be now. And I think it would be fun to make an orange. So I'm going to come and draw an orange shape. And maybe you want a couple of oranges. I think I will have 2. Once again, it's nice to add in like a second color to make it a little more interesting. You could make a lemon. So a lemon is kind of like 2 big curved lines, and then they have a little bit of a lump at the top. And then take your paint in. And let's make a lime. And I think a plum would be nice too. Now, if there's another kind of fruit you want to make that I haven't made, you're welcome to add it. Or if you want to make a whole bunch of more fruit, you can. You could keep going. But now we have our basic fruit. Now once we have our fruit made, then we're going to go ahead and get each of our fruit pieces cut out. Now I still have room on this paper, so if I wanted to make more fruit, or I could, or anything else I wanted to add into my still life. So I'm now going to take my background and start to place my fruit wherever I want it to go. So first I could just take and play with it a little bit. And I can arrange it. If I don't like it, I could change it again. And then once I have it exactly where I want it, then I'm going to go ahead and take my glue stick and glue things down. You want to make sure you take your glue really clear out to the edges of your piece. If you don't, things will peel up. So when I go to do it, I really want my edges to stick down. So if I just do this, let's say I just put it in the middle, then do you see how the whole thing kind of sticks up a little bit? So when you go to do it, really try to get out to your edges completely. And you'll notice I put my big fruit in the back and I'm putting my smaller pieces in front of it. And there I have my finished still life. Thanks for joining me today. Bye-bye.